Welcome everyone to the SciManDan podcast, the place where science and conspiracy collide. We're back. It's episode 24, I think. Just a quick request from me before we crack on. If you've been listening to this podcast for a few weeks now and you're enjoying it, then please do leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. It'd be really appreciated if you could. We're really trying to grow this, and a review would certainly help. So thank you very much. Anyway, joining me again this week is my ever-loyal co-host. He's been on an absolute mission to find how many golf balls are in the air at any one moment. More on that later. It is Cats. Welcome, buddy. How you doing? So,
I'm doing great. And that jingle, mate, like I said, every time I hear it, I get a shot of testosterone running through my bones.
I've got some news. I've spoken to Wolf, and he's going to make a hardcore version of your jingle.
Oh, right.
So we can ramp it up, right? So, you know, you've been moaning for ages. You're going to get... I'm joking. You're not moaning. You're fine.
Not moaning.
I know. I know. Anyway, how you been? Good week?
Yeah, busy, mate. Busy. But it's been good. It's been eventful. Again, everything's been eventful, but it's it's been good.
Good. I mean, we won't do Flat Earth news this week because we're going to be talking about it quite a lot. So let's just crack on. So joining us this week is a man who was once a major part of the Flat Earth community, but has since left that all behind to rejoin Team Globe. It is Ranty. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Good to be here. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so pleased you could come on. I wanted to just quickly chat about, before we get into it, probably the first time that you and I had some sort of a dealing was the elsacraig video. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. I believe Sleeping Warrior brought it to me, actually. In fact, he brought it to the Flat Earth debate team.
He did.
And I believe at the time you had about, I would say close to about 150 subs.
Yeah, I didn't have many. Have many.
You were a tiny little speck on the horizon.
I was. I remember it really well that Anthony said that him and Nathan decided not to bring it up because they didn't want to give me any exposure. I'm sure they said that.
I think they're regretting bringing it up now.
I think they possibly are. But anyway, I mean, that I made a really, and it was genuinely slap hand. I just quickly skimmied it out and chucked it on to try and prove a point, and you guys were all arguing it. Have you had a chance? Oh, I guess you haven't had a chance to look at it now. But what do you think about that now? That particular that observation from Malkay?
Well, to be honest, I mean, it is so crushed and just deformed, and it's really difficult to just say for sure exactly what you're looking at. It really is, and that's why we had such a bit of back and forth at the time, because we could make it look like what we wanted it to make to look like, and you could do the same.
Exactly.
And of course
it was good fun. Honestly, it was good fun. It was my first forage into to arguing with you guys, with your types of people. And it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure you guys did as well.
Oh, we loved it, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was our mutual friend Cats, wasn't it, that facilitated your journey back to the Globe side. Can you just quickly go through the process of how you came back? What was the main story?
Well, I think that might be a little bit mistaken, actually, to be fair, because it wasn't actually that kind of way it went down, really. But me and Kat started working together at the back end of last year, so sort of we got talking at the start of November, I think, and by the end of November we decided to do this podcast, and we put a podcast out. That's the Almost Unbelievable Paranormal Podcast, in case anyone's interested.
We'll link it.
And that's a good boost for that, isn't
plug.
Plug, get it in there, So we started working together on that, but we did make a decision together to not talk about Flat Earth. I understood where his position was, he understood mine, and we just thought we'd work together well, and we did, and we kept that going for the longest time until I saw this image back in February that pops up. So we'd been talking for over 3 months, and I just did my own thing. Katz was doing his own thing. He was putting videos out against the Flat Earth. No problem. It didn't bother me. And I saw this image and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to put a video out or pass it to somebody to put a video out about this particular image that popped up. So I did some calculations on it, and it stunned me because it didn't show what I thought it was going to show. And, after a bit of soul searching, I sent it off to Katz and said, hey, double checked this for me because I think it's actually a globe proof, and I'm really shocked. And he passed it on to Ruhif, and yeah, I mean, it was just so it was so clear, it was so obvious what we were looking at. There was no denying that it was absolutely proof that there was drop in my location, which is what I've been asking for. And it was certainly enough for me to change my mind after 5 years of research and being a very, sort of like popular figure in the community, I would say, on both sides.
Yeah,
so
I'd agree with that.
So yeah, so it was just a case of this one image changed everything for me.
In case anyone is listening and they haven't seen the photo, it is Blackpool Tower, isn't it, in front of a range of mountains behind, quite some distance behind, and the figures say that on a flat plane, those mountains should be higher than Blackpool Tower, but they weren't in the photo, were they?
Yeah, I mean, that's just one, obviously,
one part of it,
from the globe earthers perspective, you're looking for a mathematical equation to say, okay, well, the mountain should be higher than the tower, and that's absolutely true. On a flat plane, it should be, and it's quite clear that it matches up trigonometry-wise perfectly to a globe, and there's no denying what you're looking at for sure. I mean, it's not even close. On the other side of the coin, because the mountains were so beautifully covered in snow, all the ridges were highlighted, which meant that you could actually pick out individual features, and you could determine where eye level was, firstly because of the known structures of Blackpool, and you could also then determine where your eye line would intersect those mountains behind Blackpool. So based upon all that, it was so clear that there was at least 350 meters of drop, and that couldn't be possible on a plane. We had Ruhif come in. He did some calculations using pixels on the, with some kind of program that he's using and working with, and that gave exactly to the pixel the same conclusion I came up with just analyzing the image. Katz did the trigonometry on it. I mean, whichever way you looked at it, there was no possible way this could be possible on a flat plane.
Yeah, I mean, you did the live stream and it was brilliant. I have to say, all three of you, it was fantastic analysis of the photo. And then on the live stream, you said it, you came out, you said that you were no longer a flat earther and you were siding with the globe. How has that reaction been? Was the reaction what you expected from both sides of the argument?
Oh, crikey. It's been confusing because for the first week or week and a half at least, the flat earthers weren't believing it. And they were saying, going around, he's playing a trick on the globe earthers. He can't possibly be coming out as a globe earther on this particular image. It's not true. We don't believe it. And I'm like, how many times do I have to go around arguing? Because I was with people saying, no, it's genuine. I'm being serious here. But they were sticking the fingers in and saying, Ranty can't definitely, he's not going back to the globe. No. And I'm like, yes, I am. And no, he's not. He's playing a trick, and they're still going around saying it now. It's really confusing for them. And I think when that wears off, they are obviously going to, come around to the idea that I'm some kind of shill or something. That's already started recently. Probably. I've seen the, people putting videos out about me. Now there's the mocking videos. Then there's the anger. I've had the angry responses from people messaging me, talking to me. Just really now everything seems to be. I'm now the enemy from the flat earthers' point of view. And from the globe earthers' point of view, I've just been welcomed. It's been quite strange, actually. I thought I would be like, nah, you're definitely not allowed to come back to the globe. We don't want you. And instead, it's been open arms, come back. We're happy to have you. I was like, everything that I thought was going to be the other way around has not been the case. I thought that the friends that I had in the flat earth community would still be my friends. Turns out, maybe they were fair weather friends and not really friends at the end of the day.
Yeah, which is a shame, isn't it? Katz, can you just explain to us what was going through your mind when you thought that he could be wavering here when he came to you?
In all honesty, it was to keep my mouth shut because, I have not had this conversation with Ranty actually, but when we started the podcast, he's right with what he said earlier on, that we made like a pact. We just don't talk about flat earth, right? Because all that's going to happen is we're going to disagree. What's the point, right? Sure. So we didn't talk about it. And then when he brought that image to me, I mean, deep down, I was looking at the image sort of without him being there thinking, bloody hell, this is absolutely nailed on, this. Yeah. But the last thing I wanted to do was really bring it, and I don't know what Ranty's take is, but I don't think that I sort of hassled him about it. I don't think that I kept going back to him. I thought all I need to do is keep my gob shut, let him process whatever he's got to process. And I'm sure, because I know behind the scenes he was analysing it really carefully.
Yeah.
I thought if he does analyse this really carefully, he'll come to his own conclusion. And the last thing anybody wants is me chipping in. So I don't know if that's a fair reflection, Ranty, but I do. Like, do you think I kept out of it enough? Or?
Well, that's an understatement. He was so laid back about it. I was messaging him every week saying, dude, you need to put a video out about this. Dude, I'm telling you, it's serious. It's proving drop. And he's like, yeah, I'm working on a video and I'll get around to it. It'll be out by the end of the week. This is what he was telling me from week 1. By the end of week 8, I'm still asking him and getting the same response. Yeah, I'm just finishing off the script for it. I'm still doing, and I'm like, brilliant, mate. I said, like, this has got to go down now. It's got to happen now. You have to do it. You have to do it right now. And he was like, right, okay, I will do. But it took a lot. I had to push him into releasing that video.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it though, because I think he's right. If he'd have almost like if you're like a trader, stock trader, and you're trying to close a deal and you just keep banging on about it, you're going to lose it, aren't you? Do you think if he'd have pushed it, Ranty, that would have changed things?
To be honest, no. I mean, I think if I'd still been running my debate show too, and I'd seen this image pop up, I would have still brought it to the community and I'd have still demanded answers, and I would have still been doing the calculations on it and probably been in the same situation that I'm in now. So I don't think it would have made any difference if he'd have jumped all over it to start with. But I can understand why he did take a step back, because he wanted it to be my decision. He realized I'd invested so much time into this and he didn't want to be responsible for, me coming out and then have the blame put at his feet, because it was no blame. It was all to do with me. It was my own personal calculations, my own reasoning. I had to prove it to myself. I proved it to myself. Nobody put anything in my mind. I just did it myself.
Yeah. That brings on nicely actually to I didn't think you were like other flat earthers. You were very evidence-based throughout your entire time. You focused on observations mainly, and I did respect you for that. However, how did you deal with some of the things said by other flat earthers, like, for example, density, buoyancy, the gravity argument, all of that stuff?
Well, to be honest, I mean, none of those arguments really weighed heavy on my mind. I wasn't too fussed about that.
Okay.
I really didn't get involved with that argument. And I always said for one reason, I wanted to just understand optics and optics alone. I didn't want my head filled with a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of the other. So I listened to what people said. I listened to their arguments. I didn't always agree with it, but I never really came out and said I don't agree with it, because I didn't feel I knew enough on the subject. The only thing I was really interested in was just finding any proof of curvature where I live. That's the only thing I was bothered about, because from my perspective, I was going down to the beach and I could see Barrow in Furness, which was 18 or 20. Sometimes I was going as far as 24 miles away and essentially seeing shore to shore, which it dumbfounded a lot of globe earthers, because to the point they were even saying, well, there must be something going on in your location then, because we can't understand how you're getting this photography. And my claim was obviously, well, in my location, there is no curvature until this image popped up. And the good thing about that is that other people have actually been back to the same spot and repeated the observation. I know Katz went back to try and do it himself, but he didn't have the conditions for it. But another, I was going to say flat earth, and he's not a flat earther, he's a level earther called Bev. Yeah. And his channel's called Try Thinking. And he's been down numerous times now and taken photography with his son, but published the information for the community to see. And not just on one occasion, but on many occasions, he's been down and seen exactly the same relationship of the mountains to the tower. So essentially, and with his own words, when he turns around and says it's always like that, well, it doesn't get more definitive than that, because if that is the actual photography that's filmed from that location, it cannot possibly be a flat plane. It just cannot possibly be that. It has to be drop. And from that conclusion, you can make everything else up yourself. You can understand that there must be gravity. All the rest of the things fall into place once you've determined that there's drop. And we're never going to see it from an airplane. Sorry, you never see it from an airplane. You'll never see it. I'm never going to go in the ISS. Yeah. But I will, if I can see it from where I live, then I don't need to know if there's people living on the ISS. I don't need to know anything like that. Whether we went to the moon, it doesn't matter to me. The fact is that I now am sure that we live on a globe, and the rest of it is all just going to just fall into place for me.
Perfect. I don't think there was ever any doubting how authentic you are. I mean, Katz and I spoke several times about the groups of flat earthers, and we always had our doubts on whether some believed it or not. But I don't think it ever came up in the question that you were in it for anything other than trying to find out what we're living on and looking at the evidence. It certainly came across that way anyway. You agree with that, Katz?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, and I remember. I mean, and a big supporting piece of evidence of that is, I think we both came to know Ranty through his appearances on Nathan Oakley's show, the Flat Earth Debate, which, that's Nathan's show, that's his money, that's his adverts, that's his super chat. So anyone who went on there did nothing but donate time to it and got nothing from it,
Yeah, absolutely. Ranty, do you think there's I wouldn't include you in this because, like I said, you're in it for the observational stuff and you wanted to find things out. But in terms of the normal flat earthers, do you think there's a deeper psychological thing going on here with some of the people that believe it?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that because it's only been in the last couple of days or so that I've actually started to process this myself and understand how did I actually end up in that situation where I was in a bubble. It felt, looking back now, it feels like I was in a bubble. I was in like my own little world with my own group of friends, and everybody was against me. Everybody was telling me lies, this, that, and the other. And I've started to process it. I was talking to Bob the Science Guy. He's another YouTuber. I think he's got about 20,000 subs. Yes. And we were having a bit of a discussion about that. And I was bringing up the idea that, it feels to me as if I'm a very addictive person. So I've got an addictive personality.
Okay.
And, I can watch one episode of a TV program and I'm instantly hooked, and then I have to binge watch it all the way through. Well, in the same respect, this was the same thing that happened to me with the flat earth. I got this idea in my head after watching just a few videos about flat earth that I can go down to the beach and find out for myself. And when I went down and saw that I could see further than I should on the globe, I was instantly addicted to this.
Okay.
And then, because flat earth has no end, you've never got the end of the series. The series never ends. It's like, you're constantly there. So this addictive personality and the traits alongside of that, then stays in that mindset. And I think, for me, I think that's how I'm trying to process it, is that for me, it was an addictive personality. And it does feel like you're in some kind of cult. I do have to say, when I look back now and I look at how I was and what I was doing and what I was feeling and the pressures from inside the community and what was going on and how people observed other people and what they thought, it absolutely feels just like it was a cult. And when you leave, you can see how the quote-unquote cult is reacting by how they're reacting to me. And this is definitely starting to show now. You can definitely see the anger coming out inside of the community. At first, it was absolutely disbelief, but now it's turned to anger. And to me, that only happens when you are in a cult.
Yeah, it's really interesting you've said that, all of that stuff, actually, because Seek Truth, Speak Truth was exactly the same. He said it felt like a cult after he left. Is it fair to say that there are some flat earthers that are not really sure about it, but don't have the strength of character to come out because they're worried about the reaction they get from the flat earth community?
Well, I can't speak for anybody else, but I would like to, if they ever get a chance to hear this, reach out to them and just say, have the courage to follow what you want to do. If you feel that anything that I've done recently in trying to tell people what's happening inside the community, what's happening to me personally when I saw this observation, the conclusions that I came to, that I'm certainly not lying to you. If you feel that that is something that you're under the pressure to just feel that you can't leave because you seem to have what you would consider friends in the community, let me tell you this. When you leave, those friends leave too. So they're only fair weather friends. So if you have the inner strength to actually remove yourself from that, you have to be prepared to lose those friends. But then your eyes are opened and you feel back to normality. There's a huge weight off of my shoulders. I promise you things look better once you are out.
That's really nicely put, mate. Speaking of that relationship with those friends, the Flat Earth debate team in particular, it was a bit of a roller coaster, that relationship, wasn't it? I mean, I've got my opinions regarding that, Nathan and Ranty and Arwin and things, but how much harm do you think that particular show is doing Flat Earth? Do you think they're actually doing anything good for it?
Well, inside the community, they're a divisive group.
Yes.
And that's been evident with what happened when Bob finally offered his olive branch to Nathan. That's Glowbusters Bob. And he offered the olive branch and asked him to come on the show. And instead of coming on the show and being grateful about it, he came on the show and essentially just caused an even bigger rift. It was the biggest slap in the face to the community as a whole at that time. Definitely caused a huge rift. And then people went their separate ways, and it seemed to break the audience up from the inside, 50-50. There was arguments about this, that, and the other. Then, of course, you got Sleeping Warrior. I mean, the amount of things he comes up with that a lot of people disagree with. I'm not going to make my own feelings made upon that, but you can decide for yourself by the amount of times that he's been nominated for certain awards inside the community. So I think, that the way that debate platform, and I'm going to say it's a debate platform because they call it a debate platform, but it really isn't. So if you want to consider that as being the pinnacle of what flat earthers are, then, looking at it from the outside, it's just terrible.
Yeah. It's
just awful. How anybody, when you're inside the community, though, and you're in that community and you're in that mindset, you've got, it is like, and Nathan even says it's a public chant. It feels like it's a public chant, because you're there and you're just, you're loving it. You're loving the way he acts. But once you're out of there, you look at him and you think, what an idiot.
Yeah. Katz has done a lot of debates, and it's well known that I don't debate flat Earth. I say that I don't debate established fact, but even if I went on that show, I don't feel like I'd get a fair crack at the whip, because we always say Nathan mutes and shouts and uses long sentences and long words and all of this to try and discombobulate his guests, doesn't he?
Yeah, his mute button is his favourite friend. What will happen is he will ask a question to, let's say, a sacrificial glober that will come in to have a quote-unquote debate with him.
Yep.
But he's only got a few that go in now, and they're used to what happens. They go in, they get no more than 5 words out of the mouth, and Nathan silences them again, puts them on mute, screams and shouts at them, demands this, demands that, for about 30 to 40 seconds, then unmutes them. Then they start to speak. They get no more than 5 words out of the mouth, and he mutes them again and shouts at them. And it's terrible. It's not a debate. There's no back and forth. There's no sharing of ideas and let's come to some kind of consensus or pick a winner. It's his way of just performing basically the Jeremy Kyle show here in the UK, if you ever got a chance to see that. It was Jeremy Kyle or... Yeah, and that's just what it is. And what would it be in America? It would be
Jerry Springer. Yeah,
Jerry Springer.
Jerry.
Yeah. But he's worse. His anger towards the guest and the way he talks to them, the way he belittles them. You have to be some kind of sadist to go in there to put up with that. And maybe these people are. Maybe the people that do go in are that way. They like being talked to like that. But when you're inside the community listening to that, so if you're on Nathan's side, you're loving it. Oh, yes, he's spanking the Glober. Yeah. But when you remove yourself from the situation and you look back and you think, is this how normal people behave? And it's absolutely not. It's absolutely insanity.
What did you make of that time that Katz had Nathan on Sleeping Warriors channel when he was asking him what diffraction was and Nathan couldn't answer him? As a flat earther then, what were you thinking, honestly?
I was thinking, this is embarrassing because at the time, we'd been talking about the diffraction limit sometime before. I was the first person to bring it to the community. Then Life is Short brought it up and did a series on it. Then Nathan hijacked the term and would talk about it without actually understanding the full quotations or what it actually meant or what it did or anything like that. And he was always shouting about it. Oh, it's the diffraction limit, this, that, and the other. And then Katz had him on the ropes when he asked him. And it was embarrassing for Nathan. There should be some kind of soundbite from that, surely.
Yeah. Katz, did you plan that to get him in that sort of way? Or did it just happen on the fly?
I didn't even plan to be on the show. Sleeping Warrior was streaming and he called me on Skype. Yeah. Or did he ask me to call him on Skype? I can't remember. I don't think I knew he was streaming. I ended up speaking to him. Then I realized I was streaming. Then he said, I'm just going to bring Nathan Oakley in. And I didn't want to speak to him. And I just, it was all off the hook. It was all very,
it was brilliant,
very off the hook.
It was very funny. Yeah. Right, Ranty. Right, here we go. So there was a time that you made a video questioning the authenticity of my subscribers. Is there any doubt from that there, or are you happy that they're all legitimate now?
Is this the revenge after 2 years or whatever? Is this your revenge?
I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking the question.
Right, so he's going to get his look at his head now. It's swelling. It's getting ready to get bigger.
I'm going to be honest. I'll be honest with you in a minute. You tell me, and then I'll be absolutely honest with you.
Okay, right. He's going to be really honest with you. So at the time, absolutely, at that time, I believed 100% that you were buying your subscribers. So when I released that was absolutely true. But then I saw the metrics. I mean, I saw how many people you were getting watching your streams. I saw how many people you were getting interacting on your comment sections and things like that. And, so originally the first couple of weeks, then it became quite clear for me, at least anyway, that, maybe you're getting a big bump up the algorithm with the YouTube stars over there, and you got a leg up for sure.
I definitely got a leg up, and we joke about it now. I say how lucky I was. I think it was number 7 on trending on that weekend, the gate video. And honestly, I was away on holiday for a weekend so I was actually quite close to you. I was near Carlisle at the time. And that's when everything started blowing up, and it's when you released that video. And I've got to say now, still to this day, it's one of the things that has hurt me the most since doing YouTube was the fact that people were denying that I had legitimate subscribers. Honestly is. And
right.
I was saying to my wife, I can't believe these people are doubting that I wouldn't buy subscribers. I don't even know how to do it. And like everyone was piling in on it. And I was like, I was really gutted that people thought it. Honestly, I was.
Well, let me tell you this, and if you've been honest with me, I'll be honest with you. I wanted you to have that pain because
I bet you did.
Because even like 2 weeks afterwards, even when I could see that you were getting the views, you were getting the interactions, you were getting the likes, you were getting the comments, people coming over to respond back that he isn't buying these subs, and I could see that. Even though that I still wanted you to feel I wanted you to suffer for getting all those subscribers when measly old flat earthers was struggling along, getting 1 or 2 every day, and here he comes and he's getting thousands every day. Yeah. So it wasn't fair. And
I get that. Okay.
I wanted you to suffer.
Last question on that. When was the last time you had a comment saying that they were a real subscriber?
Oh, crikey. I don't know.
Oh no, you haven't got the channel anymore, have you?
No, because what happened? Yeah, back in, crikey, it would have been July or August of last year. So I handed the reins to Brandon to look after the show for a time, expecting to literally come back at some time. I was burnt out, mate. I was burnt out with all the Flat Earth. And then I had some time away, and I realised I quite liked it. I liked putting on Netflix, and I liked just waking up and not thinking about Flat Earth. I enjoyed that time, and it was very clear to me very soon that I just thought, I don't want to go back and do all that. No, my mind was just taken away from that situation for a time, and it allowed me to semi-break free. And then a few months after that, Kat's got in touch with me and said, do you want to work on the podcast that we're working on? And that gave me another outlet for something else to think about. So suddenly I had broken away. I'd essentially given the channel to Brandon. I had Conspiracy Cats working with me on the paranormal podcast. So of course that was keeping my mind from wandering back into the Flat Earth. And I had no intentions of jumping back into the Flat Earth until I saw this one image. So, it was kind of like I drifted away, and now I'm back in it for a short time. I don't expect to be here for very long. I've got a message to tell people, and that's what I'm telling people. This is the message. You can either accept it or you don't. And, at least if there's some people sitting on the fence, if I only get through to 10% of them, then I could be saving a lot of people's mental well-being and lives going forward, because they can change things and come back to normality.
Absolutely. And I think that was, Kat's, I think you agree with that as well. That was probably one of the main things that we were concerned with when we started our channels, was to trying to get the people on the fence, because we knew that the flat earthers themselves were gone. It was the ones on the fence we were aiming at, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like any time I do a debate, or any time I'm doing a live thing, and I think Ranty said as much in his debate with Brian's Logic this weekend, that he's speaking not to the person he's debating, not trying to convince that person. They need to come to conclusions on their own in their own time, but to speak to the people watching who are a bit like that. Yeah, that's always the
And I think you've done a hell of a lot recently, Ranty, for those people for sure. I reckon.
Definitely.
I hope so. I do feel that it's had a massive effect inside the community. From what I've seen,
oh yeah,
the ripples from this, the effects, it's like it is like somebody's just dropped an earthquake inside the community, and it's ruffled a lot of feathers. You can see how desperately the community is trying to shore up this without it and sweep it under the carpet. And I'm determined to not let this momentum go currently. I want it to carry on. I want people to see this message and see that they can also get out of it if they really want to. But they have to be prepared to sacrifice the people they thought were friends in the first place, get away from the cult, get back to normality and start living their life again.
Yeah, spot on. Right, okay, we'll take a quick break. It's time for Cat's Curiosity time. And this week, have you done your homework this week, buddy? So, Ranty, what I did is I asked Cats to find out for me, to calculate how many golf balls are in the air on Earth at any one time. And he says he's done it. So let's see what he's got.
I'll talk you through my process now. There's going to be people who are, and also I'm really curious as to why that question has been asked. I'm sure I'll find out afterwards. But there'll be people who actually play golf who will be listening to some of the assumptions I've made here, and they're going to think that's not right.
Well, I play golf, so I'll tell you if you're out on your assumptions.
Okay, brilliant. So I needed to Google one or two facts,
of course, yeah,
to get me started. So first thing I Googled was the number of people in the world who are estimated to play golf. I needed a starting point, which come out at 36.9 million people.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of people. So then I thought, well, how often are people going to play? So I also Googled, I went on some golf forums, how often on average do you play golf? And we had the extremes, but it did seem to average out in terms of the number of rounds a week. Less than once a week. But then I had to factor in, if we're talking about golf balls in the air, we've got to factor in driving ranges. So I thought, I'm going to add that together. I'm going to say it is once a week.
Okay.
Right. So then I need to figure out, how many people playing golf per day? I just thought, if we're going to do it on average, let's do an average. So I divided 36.9 million by 7 to get 5.27 million people playing per day. But then I had to think, of those 5.27 million playing per day, how many are playing at actually any one time? So I Googled how long does it take to play 18 holes? And it takes about, apparently on average, I don't play about 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours. That's fair. Yeah. So
that's what I use. So I thought, if I can divide that 5.27 million by 8. Now, why did I divide it by 8? Oh no, I assumed a 3-hour play because I was factoring in driving range as well, which was a lot quicker. So that's kind of an assumption I've added to it.
Yeah.
So then obviously there's 8 lots of 3 hours in a day. So I divided the 5.27 million by 8 to get about 659,000 people playing at any one time for those 3-hour chunks throughout the day. But then I needed to figure out, I'm just looking at my working out. I was trying to think what I did here. Then I thought, right, okay, if I take that 659,000 and I divide it by the number of minutes in those 3 hours, I ended up with, hang on, I will tell you in a second. So I ended up with, let me get my other piece of paper. Sorry, mate. Let's start again.
Okay.
So then one time, what percentage? You might have to edit a bit my stuttering out here.
I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Or I might leave it in for fun.
So at any one time, I got there was 659,000. Then I said, if 659,000 play at one time, what percentage of the time is the ball in the air? That's where I went.
Sure.
That's where I went there. So then I had to think, if somebody's doing 18 holes and it takes about 4 hours, then that's 13.3 minutes between tee-offs. So every 13.3 minutes, a ball goes in the air. And then I thought, that's not the only time in that round. And again, I don't play golf. So I estimated the ball will go in the air if you take away the putting maybe 4 times that's that 13.3 minutes.
On average, that's fair, yeah.
I thought, okay, cool. So I worked out that every 2.2 minutes, someone playing a round of golf would send a ball into the air.
Okay.
All right, on average. And then I thought, driving range is going to be way quicker than that. So I made an estimation and I brought that 2.2 minutes down to 1.5 minutes. So I estimate from all the people playing golf in the world, every 1.5 minutes to send a ball into the air.
Okay.
And that was based on somebody playing for 3 hours. So I figured out, well, what is 1.5? How many times is 1.5 minutes going to 3 hours? And I worked out a percentage of that. And I then worked out that at any one time, I think I had a percentage of 0.8% of the time for each single player, the ball is going to be in the air. And that worked out at 5,000 to, and I converted it to seconds. My working out's getting sloppy now, but I had about 5,272 balls in the air. And this isn't my answer though.
Okay.
At any one time, just based on people who play around of golf.
Okay.
But then I thought, well, hang on. When a ball is in the air at any one time, it's in the air for more than 1 second. And then other people. So I estimated that I'm going to triple that. And I got 15,000 balls in the air at any one point. How far off was I?
Wow. I haven't got an answer. I was just interested in your Honestly, it was something I've wanted to know, and I thought let's use Katz's amazing mathematical prowess to see how good he could do. So that's good. 15,000 at any one time in the air.
That's facts, yeah.
In the air.
Well, could I just say though that I think the ball's in the air for more than 3 seconds. I'd say it's closer to 10 each shot.
Yeah, yeah. You could times that by 10. Yeah, not triple it.
Really, could be a lot more. See, I don't play golf. I mean, like it would be for a drive, but like how much for like a little chip out of the
if it averaged out. But I mean, the thing is, then you've got like if I want to say I'm sat with like a nice 5-iron, I want to hit a nice approach shot to the green. I'm like, yeah, that's going to go 200 yards, nice and high, slam on the green. I'll hit it, and it'll go 50 yards along the floor into the rough. So there's never a guarantee that it's going to go in there. But anyway, excellent maths. I'm going to think of a different type of impossible maths sport thing to do next time. I'm thinking it might be something to do with table tennis and revolutions of the ball or something like that. But I'll think of one. Okay. So thank you very much. Good effort, mate. Good effort.
Thank you.
Right. So Ranty, we've looked at flat Earth. Where are we standing on all the other stuff that went with it? AntiSpace, moon landing, all that sort of stuff. I know you touched on it earlier.
Well, I've got. I think if you ask most people nowadays, did we go to the moon? The average people, not people that run a YouTube channel for the Globers, but just your average everyday person. I think there's still quite a big percentage of people that would say, actually, looking back, I don't think we went to the moon.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So I would probably fall into that category, but for a different reason, just because of what was going on at the time.
Okay.
More the fact that they wanted to end the Cold War, the space race, and all that kind of things. So I think that's probably where I stand on that. But as for the other conspiracies, I don't think I'm going to get into another conspiracy ever again. I am not going to look at that. I'm going to watch cat videos and snooker videos and ghost videos, but anything that has a conspiracy in it, I'm just going to ignore, because I'm so addicted I'm very easily addicted. So I could simply fall into that again, and I don't want to go there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Was there a conspiracy that you wouldn't touch as a flat earther that other people were peddling?
To be honest, this was the one conspiracy that I didn't want to touch. In fact, I think I looked at every other conspiracy in the world, and this was the last one, and it kept popping up in this feeds years ago, and it kept saying, oh, the earth is flat, the earth is flat. And every time I looked at it, I'm saying, that is ridiculous. Don't watch that video. And that's how I thought. And then it got to the point where I'd watched every conspiracy going, and I was bored. And I stuck that on, and just something in it struck me, whatever was in it, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, I'm gonna go down and check, and it just hooked me. So from what would be the last conspiracy, this was the last conspiracy that I ever wanted to touch, and after spending 5 years in it, I certainly won't be going back into it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair enough. But there were people like, I know, debate, and people like I can't remember his name now.
Mark Sargent.
No, why can't I remember his name? The Spanish Birmingham guy. I know him.
Spanish Birmingham guy.
Yeah.
Antonio Subres.
Yeah, Antonio, of course. Sorry, I knew that. I knew he is. Antonio, people like that, they lump into it things like the anti, like they don't believe that there was the Jews were all killed and things like that, do they? So are those sorts of things you were like you were kind of staying away from as well?
Yeah, and I didn't really get into it in when I was doing my debates either. In fact, I wasn't really interested in that. For me personally, it was just one thing I was interested in, and that was just show me proof of curvature locally. That was the only thing. And I understood where other people were going, and I did listen to what they were saying, and it was interesting. But was I too fussed about it? No, it's not something that I would want to investigate, because I think I don't want to go down those rabbit holes again. And I think that that would be my advice to most people. If you've got out of a conspiracy, don't go back into them again, because it can be very addictive, whichever one you go down.
Yeah, I agree. Has the whole experience been like a mindset change for you since it's happened?
Yes, 100%. I think we were saying just before we started the show, I said it's really weird, actually. I'm sat down here with conspiracy cats, and all I've wanted to do for the past 4 or 5 years is punch him in the face. Not conspiracy cats, SciManDan. Sorry, let me say that again.
Hey, I'm keeping that bit in. Whatever you say now is not going in.
Fraudulent slip there. I meant to say you. SciManDan.
Yes,
but and I would see your face, and it'd be like, oh, that guy's put another video out. Oh, I hate him, But since I've sort of like come away from that, I actually look at you, and you're just a normal guy, and I don't hate you. But when I was in the community, I hated you so bad, it was unbelievable.
Well, I am slightly different when I make a video to my normal self. You probably can tell from the conversation we're having now. I do put on a little bit of a pompous attitude and a bit of a know-it-all attitude. I'm a little bit of a caricature of myself when I make those videos. So it's not surprising that you guys were annoyed by me.
It was because you didn't get involved either. It was like, that was the worst part.
But I knew that annoyed you guys. That's why. It was just perfect. Absolutely perfect. I knew that refusing to debate would wind you all up, and it still does to this day.
Well, that was it. It was like you rarely responded in chat. Occasionally, you would stop into somebody's live stream, say a few sentences here and there, and then disappear. And it was like no one could tie you down to an argument. No one could tie you down to a debate. You couldn't get an answer. Well, you couldn't get a one-on-one with you, no matter how hard you tried. No. And it was like somebody coming up and flicking you in the bollocks, and then they were faster than you. They could run faster than you. You could never catch them.
I like that.
And it was like, it was so annoying, because then you'd come back and you'd flick you in the bollocks again, and you'd be running again.
Do you know what?
Come back and fight me.
I actually spent 45 minutes in one of Nathan's shows basically having a conversation with him through the chat about how that I knew Neil deGrasse Tyson. I had to go and speak to him about Coriolis and stuff like that. And I wasted 45 minutes of his time talking to me and shouting at me rather than doing the show. So that's the sort of stuff that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like I said, I think when you're in that mindset, when you're inside like I said, I'm going to say it's a cult, because when you're in that, everyone's the enemy, and you get this hatred for it's like I don't hate people at all. I'm not in the real world. When I'm out and about, I'm the nicest person you could ever meet, right? But inside the community, when you're looking at other globe earthers that are putting a video out about you become enemy number one. And it's like the only person you want to really have a real fist fight with is that person. And it's weird. It's like it puts you in this mindset of you are the enemy. You are the Antichrist.
Well, I don't think it ever came across that you hated people when you were doing your videos.
No, well, that's another thing. You see, I was able to put a lid on it.
Yeah, you definitely were. You definitely were. Like some people are very bad at putting a lid on it. They will. You know of people who've done videos about me, but if I ever released all of the messages I've ever got, I think you'd be a bit shocked because some of them are pretty bad.
Wow. I mean, I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever sent you any nasty messages or anything like that.
Never. I'm talking about a lot of the viewers, the Flat Earth viewers, rather than the content creators.
Yeah. I understand that. There are a lot of people that are so down the rabbit hole in this. And I think it was easy for me to come out because I didn't get involved with the gravity argument, with the ISS argument, with the moon landing argument. So if I'd been able to disprove one thing, which was local curvature, if I was still believing, okay, I'm so invested in the gravity argument, then I would still be in that flat Earth mindset because I wouldn't be able to cut the cord because I was invested in so many different things. But for me personally, I was just invested in one thing, and that was just optics, local curvature. That's all I was interested in. So And I can see where probably a lot of people are trying to come to terms with it, because I've had a lot of messages from people saying, well, it's an image. Yes, it looks like it's showing curvature. Yes, it looks like it's showing drop. But what about all the other things? All the other things, right? And I don't think they're getting it, that all the other things follow.
They're related, yeah.
And related, as soon as you determine drop and curvature, then the rest all follows. Gravity must follow. The rest of it must follow. The water must stick to the ball. You know, it's obvious. So you can kind of, if you want to, disassociate yourself with flat Earth if you process it properly. But if you're so invested in all the different things involved in the argument, then I don't think this is going to be enough for a lot of people. And that's what people are saying to me. It's like you've changed from being a flat earther on one image and one observation. And it's not just one observation; it's a series of different observations from different people. #thanks Bev.
Yeah.
but he proved to me that it is a normal observation from that spot, which is definitely showing curvature. So did I need to be, as long as the other flat earthers can appreciate that and understand the gravity of what they're looking at, they may be able to pull back. But I think for the most part, they're just too invested, and they can't just say, I'm going to put my keyboard down and not go into the comments section or listen to Nathan argue with people. It's like a routine for them.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for them, because they should be living their lives. And I spent 5 years not living my life. I spent 5 years investing so many hours into flat Earth on every single day, and I'll never get those years back. And they were wasted years.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is you're back now, buddy. And it's been really fascinating watching the whole thing unfold. And I'm sure there'll be more to come in terms of off the back of this. Which again will probably be very fascinating. But thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. So you guys have got a podcast, haven't you? You plugged it earlier, the Almost Unbelievable podcast. Do you want to tell us a bit about that quickly?
Yeah, okay. So Kat's got in touch with me and he said to me, do you want to do a podcast with me? So I read his message and I ignored him because I didn't like him back then. And then he messaged me again about 3 weeks later and he said the same thing. And I thought, oh, this guy's persistent. Right, okay then. So I'll find out what he's going to ask me. And we started talking, and it's a paranormal podcast. So Katz tries to science the paranormal. So if somebody brings us a story and they've got a fantastic story, it sounds great, we put it on the podcast and Katz tries to find a scientific explanation for it. And I'll try to embolden that with paranormal things that we can add to that. So it's very we're kind of like at different ends of the scale on this.
Yeah.
But the dynamics work very well. We have been nominated for an award as well after our first season. So
amazing.
It's really going well. We do put a lot of work into the editing and the production of it and things like this. So we've been told by everybody that it's a really good podcast. So if you have got the opportunity to look us out, it's the Almost Unbelievable Paranormal Podcast. And we're on Spotify and all that kind of good stuff. And on YouTube, we're just known as Almost Unbelievable.
Excellent. And we'll pop links for that in the description. But I have got a little story now for the two of you, if you both want to try and work through this.
Ooh, okay.
Let's do it.
So I worked for about 10 years in a bowling alley. And in that bowling alley, there was something called the pool pit. So it was like separate to the bowling alley. There's some doors you go through. It's really, really dark and dingy. People play 9-ball pool, stuff like that. And there was always a lot of stories late at night when everyone was shutting up and closing down, where they could hear things in that pulpit. And I am very much probably in the same camp as Katz in terms of what we think about this sort of thing. But I was down in the pulpit one night and I was cashing up, and I definitely heard pool balls clicking together. In my mind, I 100% heard pool balls clicking together. Now, all the balls, because everyone had gone, were in racks underneath the bar. There was no balls left out there. There was no one in the pulpit. And I was the only one in there. I put it down to I'm hearing things, but the more I think about it, it was definitely pool balls clicking together. What do you make of that?
Oh, well, answer you first.
Okay, so we had the Confederate Ghosts of Arlington Cemetery on recently. And we had one of the ladies that used to show all the people that would come around to go around it on a tour. And she would talk about different people that had passed away there, etc. And she had different areas that she would go to where different ghosts were known to inhabit. And one of them played Confederate music.
Okay.
So she would go down, and there was a name for the song that was being played, and he would play it on the drums. And she recognized it as a Confederate song, and she told it because when she was just working there, she talked to this other woman who'd been working there longer, and she said, "Yeah, that's such and such a ghost that plays the drums there." And every week at least, they would hear the drums being played from this young boy that apparently died there whilst he was from the Confederates. So it's possible maybe in that location there was a very popular pool player or snooker player that lived there, maybe spent most of his time there and just likes to hang out there now, you know, and maybe that's what you're hearing, some kind of echoes of the past perhaps.
Okay.
Well, from my point of view, I mean, it's funny you should mention that because when I was younger, I used to make a hobby out of breaking into bowling alleys and hiding in the pool room.
You're joking.
Clicking balls together behind. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. I never broke. I always defer to, when it's a story that I haven't got a lot of information on, I always defer to the Ghost in the Machine paper that come out of Coventry University. Ranty must be sick of hearing me say this, but it talks about the effects of infrasound. So if you're working in a bowling alley, you're going to have lots and lots of machinery. You're going to have lots and lots of open spaces for to be moving through underneath the floorboards, etc. You're going to be having big high possibility of having infrasound. Now, what infrasound can do is it heightens any emotion. So if you're somewhere where you're a little bit alone and anxious because it's dark, even if you don't know it, it makes you feel a lot more anxious. But crucially, it can also make you hallucinate. It can the vibrations can cause the receptors in the eye and the ear to be activated, and those activations are perceived by the brain as a message that tries to process them the best that it possibly can to fit the situation. So perhaps something like that.
That's okay. I mean, one of the things I possibly thought was I spent so much time in there listening to people play pool that it was just something. It was just another sound that sounded like that, which I linked to it. That's the only other thing I could say. Think about it. But,
possibly.
Who knows? But there was stories actually, Ranty, about how, because this bowling alley was built into a dugout chalk cliff. So the whole cliff had been dug out, and the bowling alley was built into the gap that remained. And there was stories about there was a burial ground in the chalk pit, in the chalk thing before the bowling alley was built. So everyone who worked there, all the people, all the young kids and stuff, they hated being in the pulpit by themselves at night.
Oh wow! Well, we did another story that was very similar to that, when this guy dug up some bones from an old cemetery in Germany, and he had some ghosts come and sit on the back of his car on the way home, funnily enough. So he's seeing these ghosts on the way home, sitting in his car, just on the back seat. You know, he brought them home with him, and they were dressed in like 16th century clothing. So, I mean, that would be freaky, I'll tell you that. But listen, let me just respond to Conspiracy Cats there when he's turned around and he said that he used to clack his balls when he was younger. I can definitely believe that. But the idea that he was ever a child, that has to be the most unbelievable story I've ever heard.
Thank you very much.
Good one. Love it. Anyway, guys, for more stuff like that, then please do check out their podcast. It really is good. Almost Unbelievable Paranormal Podcast. We'll put a link in the description. Ranty, thanks so much for joining us. Really enjoyed it. Really appreciate you popping on. You are pretty much done now, aren't you, with Flat Earth? You're just going to try and hang around and get this image through a bit more, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure as well. Let me just say it's been a pleasure being here. And as for going forward, I don't expect to be around for very much longer in the Flat Earth community. I just want to spend a little bit of time here for the next week or maybe 10 days or so, just finishing up, going around a few extra places and just telling people in that area what my side of the argument was. I was lucky enough to actually be invited onto Conspiracy Cat's channel to debate one of the premier Flat Earth debaters, and he was called Brian's Logic, and he was a formidable opponent, I have to say. Absolutely brought his A game from the Flat Earth community, and if you want to hear how that went down, go and check out Conspiracy Cat's channel, because the 4-hour demolition of that is on there.
Yeah, it was very good. I was actually watching a little bit of that just before bed, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So no prizes for guessing what happened. We're all good. So Cats, anything good coming up?
I will be doing a bit of a response to how the Flat Earth community have reacted to recent events sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Excellent.
That's it.
Sometime in the next 3 weeks / 3 months. That's what we're going for. And
Put it this way, but by the time he puts it out, that'll be old news. It'll be next year. You'll be like, who's Ranty? Who's he talking about?
Oh dear. Friday is a big one for me. I'm taking on Eric DeBay's level, so I'm doing 3 videos on it, breaking it down 20 minutes each of the documentary, and we're going to completely smash Eric DeBay's Flat Earth documentary, so look out for that on Friday. Anyway, we are done. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you all next week. Next week we have got Paul Lozier and Shannon Q. We're going to chat a bit of atheism and stuff like that with them, so that should be good. Otherwise, enjoy your week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.